Hey everyone, welcome into Attacking Third late night, Attacking Third after dark, Attacking Third, whatever you want to call it. We're here talking U.S. Women's National Team following their loss to Japan in the SheBelieves Cup. We are breaking it all down. You know the drill. Like, follow, subscribe, join the convo in the chat. We're reading, we're answering your questions, and we're all here for you at this crazy hour. Dee, you're usually up at this time. Is this what you're usually doing on YouTube?
I am. Yeah, I got energy right now. Yep. Watching soccer games till 1 a.m., getting ready to do a podcast off the cuff. Yeah, I like this. This is good energy. This is the club.
This is
Welcome, ladies.
setting the tone for the year of NWSL. Darian Jenkins, Sandra Herrera, Christine Cupo. I'm Lisa Carlin. Bless you, Christine. I saw that a moment
I muted
ago.
myself. See that? I'm like sneezing on the track tonight.
Sandra came dressed for the club, for the A3 club. She's looking
That's me.
fire.
That's me. Don't get bounced, folks. Don't get bounced from the chat, okay? Everybody have a good time tonight, all right?
Stay safe out there, everyone. A3 after dark. And we're talking the U.S. Women's National Team and their 2-1 loss to Japan in the final match day of the SheBelieves Cup. The U.S. have not won the SheBelieves Cup, the first time since 2019 that they failed to lift this trophy. Is this considered a failure for the U.S., Sandra, that they don't win the SheBelieves Cup right now?
No, it's not considered a failure. I mean, this is the 10th anniversary of the SheBelieves Cup, and this team at this point has won 7 or 8 like 7 of these things. It's they're pretty dominant in this category. And I think, to Emma Hayes' credit, she tapered a lot of expectations going into this tournament because of the types of objectives that they wanted to go out there and achieve. And yes, I think one of those was, of course, to win a cup, to win a trophy. But that's an objective that I think that they fell short of. But I think when it comes to all the other things that have been laid out there, they pretty much checked off a lot of those boxes.
But the U.S. are gold medal winners. This doesn't count as a little bit of a failure, Christine?
Gosh, how high do you rate SheBelieves?
I think I think that you don't enter any competition, friendly or otherwise, and aim to lose, right? So yes, it is a failure. Everybody, I think, for the most part, expected them to win yet another SheBelieves Cup. This was, I think, by design, what Emma Hayes had intended. It was a true test of this U.S. women's national team, of the roster selection that she brought into this tournament. And it's also a sample of some of the weaknesses that exist. I had a coach once that used to tell me, because I was really frustrated at everything because I expected to be perfect all the time, that, you can't be mad if you go searching for limits and you finally find them. And I think that this exposes a lot for what the U.S. women's national team has to work for in order to have the depth that is required to make deep runs into bigger stage tournaments.
An opportunity, a test for the U.S. This was a lot of different things you can say. And there's always the old trope. If you lose, it's not a failure. If you're learning from it, if players get experience. But the fact that the U.S. couldn't pull out 3 wins where they were growing as a team and ultimately lifting the title, I think says a lot about the test that Emma Hayes is going to put forth with this group and the competition that she wants to see with them moving forward, and knowing that she was going up against a Japanese side that had already dominated in the SheBelieves Cup, winning their back-to-back games, 4 goals, scoring 4 in each of them, winning 4-0 and then 4-1 against Colombia and Australia. But still rolling out with just 1 change from their opening match day. Let's take a look at the starting lineups for Japan first. We'll start with them. They started in their typical formation with Yamashita in the back line, Kirigawa, Kamagai, Takarade, Moriya, Najano, Hasegawa, Momika in the midfield, and then Fujino, Tanaka, and Hamano up top. A little bit of change, but off on the front foot, Darian. This was a group that was looking to attack in good moments. What did you see from Japan?
Structure, organization, tenacity, energy going against the U.S. I mean, these are all things that the U.S. and Emma Hayes were very aware of was going to be a big challenge. I mean, even just the way that Japan has always played has had those exact characteristics. Now you're going against a team that every single player is on the same page on that team. Every single player. And now you're bringing in a lot of new characters with still a relatively new coach to the U.S. who's building out U.S. soccer as we speak.
Darian, Nils has only been with Japan for a couple months, and he's made them look a little bit more solid than they did at the Olympics.
A lot more solid. But the way that they play, the structure, how tight their lines are, Japan has always been that way. It's how effective they are on the attacking side that I think has been their downfall against a lot of teams like the U.S. But this tournament has proven they're efficient as hell in front of the goal. They are going to score in a variety of ways. They are going to be so dangerous. There's not one way that you can stop every single way that they're looking to attack. And I love that the U.S. got to really have to step up, and it is a disappointment to not walk away winning this tournament. It is. It's the United States.
Yeah.
The level is to always win. It's crazy, but pressure makes diamonds. That's why this team is legendary. But I do love that Emma Hayes put these players out there to fail. You have to fail to get better. This is going to teach them way more than if they came and demolished in this game off of just being more athletic or kind of playing to the same old U.S. soccer style of play against Japan. They were trying a lot of new things. And I think the issue, I know we're going to get into it, I'm jumping ahead, but I think the issue we saw was almost information overload with a lot of these players.
Ooh.
And not having the same connections that this Japanese team has always had. It's ingrained in their culture, the way that they train. And we just didn't, the U.S. did not have that same level. And it really showed in this match.
It was really black and white from Japan to the U.S. and how these two teams played. And you mentioned the connections, Dee, that Japan has individually as a group and how they play. But when you contrast that with the U.S. women's national team and who Emma Hayes rolled out with, we saw 11 changes from match day 1 to match day 2. 10 changes heading into match day 3 against Japan. So it was a very similar lineup to the first match from the US against Colombia. Only one change from that lineup with Crystal Dunn slotting in for Jenna Nightswanger. But in the back, it was Jane Campbell in goal for her second match of the SheBelieves Cup tournament. Crystal Dunn, Tara McKeown, Emily Sonnett, and Emily Fox across the back line. Sam Coffey, Lily Yohannes, and Lindsay Heaps in the midfield. Ally Sentnor, Katarina Macario, and Yazmeen Ryan to round out the front line, Christine. Does that mean that those 11 that we saw, or 12 if we're including Nightswanger, who started the Colombian match, are the front runners of this quote-unquote B team we're calling this U.S. group right here?
I don't know if it means anything yet at this point, but for me, yes. I had handpicked, not that I'm the authority on this, but like I had handpicked that those two particular lines. I thought that they worked really well together. And I think that we're starting to see some really good burgeoning relationships, like Sentnor and Kat working together really, really well. Obviously, with some more playing time together, I think that that chemistry will work out really well. They have different skills that really complement each other. And I think that they can be an absolute force in that top line in lieu of, say, triple espresso, or interchangeably with them as they get more minutes under their belt. The midfield for me, again, Lily Yohannes. I know that Emma Hayes has requested specifically that she's not overhyped. I don't think by any means we're overhyping her in assessing her raw talent that still can be cultivated and should be. She's very composed on the ball. She has great vision in the game. She's very unruffled when she's under pressure, and remarkably strong for someone who looks like, not to be disparaging, but like a string bean. She's just absolutely great. Lindsay Heaps, I think, is a stabilizing force, as she has been. I know that the chat is kind of mixed on this. I see you guys chatting away on this point. I think that she did become a little bit of a target this match, but I think just based on her size and contrast and just sort of the way that she plays, they were going to do that. They were going to try to muscle up on her, and Japan did a good job of it.
Lindsay Heaps held it down in the midfield for me for the U.S. She was a stabilizing factor for this U.S. group, putting her foot on the ball, trying to control a lot of it, especially when there were so many moments for the United States where it was chaotic, unforced errors. They weren't passing on the mark, and you needed a veteran, someone in there to just say, okay, I'm going to control this. It took a little bit, but we did get there. Guys, this is just the tip of the iceberg. We are chatting all about the U.S. women's national team and their 2-1 loss to Japan in their final match of the SheBelieves Cup. Don't go anywhere. We're talking all about it, answering all your questions. We see you on the chat. Stick with us. Welcome back into A3 Late Night. This match started between the USA and Japan, and before you knew it, Japan found the back of the net. Just 2 minutes into this, they go up 1-0. Darian, what happened? What was the breakdown defensively that happened for the United States?
Well, it started from a quick throw-in. I mean, it was early in the match, and you have to give a lot of credit to Japan. That was clearly something that they came in and said, hey, this is a new U.S. squad, still adapting to the principles Emma Hayes wants. The speed of play, a lot of those players just looked a lot sharper than U.S. players. So comes from a throw-in. Japan bounces it around. It goes outside of the corner of the 18, and this beautiful ball is whipped in to Momiki, and she takes a cheeky touch. It makes Sonnett, who she comes from Sonnett's back shoulder, come late to pressure. Her and Jane Campbell collide. She cuts back and slots it for the opening goal. And it just set the tone, in my opinion, for the U.S. the rest of the match. I don't think that they ever fully recovered from that, because from that moment on, the U.S. felt really hesitant playing out of the back. I don't think anybody was dying to get on the ball in the defensive or middle third for the United States. I mean, how many times was the second pass out of the middle of the pitch lost? I think more times than not, sadly, in this game. But Japan came out swinging when it all started from just a really quick, cheeky throw-in.
Was it more Japan playing so well, Sandra, or U.S. coming out a little flat? If you had to give the edge to one side of it, which would it be?
I'm absolutely going to praise Japan. I mean, they were the best team this entire tournament. Like not even in this final cup match against United States. From match day 1 to 2 to 3, Japan, Japan, Japan. They are playing incredible football right now. They had Emma Hayes praising them in her pregame availability, saying yes that they want to win, but they have a deep respect for that team and they are playing incredible soccer that she herself loves to watch them play and perform. And so, yeah, I think there are some layers to the United States not having maybe that start that they wanted, or maybe even the response at certain times, especially when we saw just sort of the disjointedness and kind of the failed passing sequences between them. But you have to absolutely credit Japan with what they are putting together. And not only that, just how quickly they've been able to put it together since their Olympic performance last summer. It's a complete 180 almost at this point. And you have to wonder how much of it is on the coaching staff and how much of it is really just a credit to these players and a testament to their efforts to want to get better. I mean, we have seen more Japanese players going off and playing in different leagues around the world, whether it's Women's Super League or NWSL. I mean, Manaka's going to walk out of this tournament as the leading goal scorer, the Golden Boot winner, and we get to watch her week in and week out in NWSL play. So it is absolutely a testament to Japan and the team that they were in the moment when the USA went up against them in this cup final.
Mm-hmm. Japan was organized. They understood the assignment. They understood positioning so well. Their high press put the U.S. under so much pressure, especially when you consider the back line for the United States in this match to start things out, because it was Crystal Dunn, Tara McKeown just getting her second start ever wearing a U.S. kit, Emily Sonnett and Emily Fox. And one of the biggest question marks we've had and we've talked about, and Emma Hayes has even alluded to, is the left back position for the United States. And that's where this goal came from. In the opening 2 minutes of the game, it was a bit of a mispass trying to build out of the back for the U.S. And it was Dunn who got the start over Jenna Nightswanger, who had been in that position before. Christine, when you think about the left back role, who solidifies that role after this match?
That's a big question, huh? Yeah, I was of the mindset going into this match that given the way that Japan play, that Crystal Dunn would be the more favorable choice, just because while Neiswanger adds a lot to the attack, I think that she does need to cultivate a bit more defensively. And I think that this game has proven that it's kind of up for grabs. I think I would have preferred to have seen Tierna get a start here. She's equally experienced. I think that she probably could have added a bit more to the defense. But I think that that happens to be a position that the U.S. definitely need to, if we're looking at this in terms of futures camps, et cetera, they need to look into that left back role, because we don't have really a succession of lock-in players for that role.
Sandra, what do you think about that? And not just Dunn and Nightswanger, but Christine mentioned Tierna Davidson getting a start. If she came in instead of McKeown, how would have that changed things? Where do you see this left back position being?
I mean, I think it depends on how you want to start Tierna Davidson in this type of game. Do you have her starting in that center back position, or do you even consider Davidson at the left back role? Listen, I remember going into the 2019 World Cup and coverage of that team, and how Tierna Davidson was getting reps at that outside back position for club when she was with the formerly now known as Chicago Stars FC. That is how versatile Tierna Davidson actually is. She thrives in that center back role, and I think throughout the ups and downs of maybe having to navigate injury, she has primarily been in that role. But I think people forget that she is someone who can actually kind of play in that position if needed. I don't know or think or believe that this is the game where we needed to see that happen. One of those objectives that Emma Hayes laid out was the fact that they need to desperately continue to develop their outside back. They need to have a full back pool to pull from. And when we did the preview for this game, I believe every single one of us started Crystal Dunn. Mm-hmm. And part of that rationality in picking Dunn over Nightwanger, I think says a lot more of maybe what we think about Nightwanger's current form. But then when we see the game in front of us, where Crystal Dunn is getting this start, even though she had very limited minutes coming out of the Olympics, that she is over at the top of that left back position. I think it's a little bit bleak at this point. They really, really did their scouting. Japan absolutely did their scouting. They knew where those weaknesses were and how to attack them. And if it is that blatant to your opposition, I can promise it is definitely on the radar for the U.S. Women's National Team coaching staff. There has to be continued development in this area. I think that is something that was very, very glaring in this game.
Oof. Dee, what are your thoughts about this back line?
I actually had Niswanger starting in this match. I thought, just based on it being preseason, Crystal's been playing with Paris Saint-Germain. I thought this is a great test for, everything that Emma Hayes, I lost a headphone. Everything that Emma Hayes has said that she's wanted to do, which is give these younger players a lot of experience. And what a better time to throw Jenna Niswanger into the fire against Japan, where every team that goes and plays against the United States is looking to attack the left side. That has just been the theme. It was the theme during the Olympics. It's the theme now during all of the friendlies, and now during the SheBelieves Cup. I like that Jenna came in. I actually think when she came in, she brought a lot of energy. She had some good tackles. She had some good clearances in the left back position, and her service is undeniable in the attacking third. I'm not worried about that position. I think it's going to develop. I think the move to Arsenal is great for her. I think that's fine. We have to give all the credit in the world to Japan. Mm-hmm. I think that they were a force to be reckoned with. They were formidable in this match. Mm-hmm. Emily Fox also didn't have the best game. Mm-hmm. One of the goals came from her side not tracking a marker. They also combined around her side a lot. There's a player, I need to go through my notes. I'm kind of all over the place right now, but that they 1-2'd around her, dribbled into the 6, and just missed the frame of the goal. Yep. They attacked the U.S.'s back line like Swiss cheese, y'all. Like they came out, Sandra, you're right, scouted so well, knew exactly how to break them down. Their lines were super tight. They regained the ball. I think it shocked the U.S. building out. They looked nervous. When you're nervous in a game and everybody's making mistakes and you just don't want to be on the ball, so you hide a little bit, you back up. That's the energy it started to give once Japan scored the initial goal and then kept pressing. It just looked suffocating to the U.S.
We have not seen the U.S. defend for this amount of time in a game in a very, very, very long time. They were chasing Japan. They got caught behind the ball, and Japanese team did a very good job of switching the point of attack and then bringing it back to the other side, moving so quickly off the ball for each other, creating numerical overloads with this constant movement. And so often the U.S. was just caught ball watching or tracking, being 1 or 2 steps behind of this Japanese side. But it wasn't all crazy chaos, because I about 10, 15 minutes into this game, 10 minutes in, the U.S. realized they were going to have to play like 3 times the speed. Like, when you're listening to a podcast and you just keep going, can I listen faster? That's what the U.S. decided to do. And they were going to take 1-2 touches, do big switches of the ball. Yazmeen Ryan actually got on the ball at one point and involved herself in the play defensively to take over, and then finding heaps in a moment, sprinting forward. Yazmeen Ryan inserted herself into this game and said, I'm going to get involved, when you're exactly right, Darian. There were so many other times players were shying away from it, not wanting to be involved. But ultimately, we got a goal in the 14th minute. Ally Sentnor, the young player for the U.S. Women's National Team, gets the equalizing goal in her first 2 starts, D. Now, she's got 2 goals for the U.S. Did it come from nothing, or did you feel the buildup coming for the U.S.?
Oh, no, I felt the buildup. She is so great because we have not seen her full potential. I mean, this girl comes into full national team camp, gets her first start, scores a banger from distance. And then you see her in this game reading the play, watching Lily Yohannes make this ball to Macario, who has a great hold up. She rolls her defender. And if you watch Ally Sentnor's run, she times it perfectly to just go right behind the center back shoulder. It's a perfectly weighted pass, but the key point here is her touch. She takes just a long enough touch draws out the keeper a little bit. And as a forward, you're told as soon as the keeper takes a couple steps out, that's when you shoot, because they're off balance. They're not set and ready to make a save either way. And her placement was great. She has so much finesse. She's not just a power striker. I love it. I just think she has so many tools in her toolkit, and we're slowly seeing them come out. The more minutes she gets, just give her 30 minutes and she's going to do something that we don't know what she's going to do, but it's going to be incredibly impressive. And it all comes from her timing, adapting to what this team is asking of her. She always looks hungry to score. She looks like she's confident in front of goal. And I think a lot of players that are in the national team right now in that position, outside of camp or in camp, need to take notes of how she's playing, because she looks like she knows she deserves to be there, and scoring a second goal proves it.
How much of a lift does it give Sentnor that she played alongside Macario above Heaps, Yohannes, and Coffee for the second time? You guys are all nodding your heads.
Someone else can go. I feel like I'm yapping.
I mean, it was a great response. Like, look, they went down so early to the point you're like, surely this is the test, right? This was the stuff that you want to see what these less cap players are made of, and they did respond. They got an equalizer in the 14th minute. It didn't take them long to try it and build up towards something. They made the adjustment. They had the recognition very quickly, where you have to play much quicker. And so here comes the goal. But I think it is significant that it comes from this sort of front six. I think for me, that was my first impression or first takeaway from seeing that starting 11, that I was very much here for these front six type of players that we saw in game one. Because if you look over the course of the 3 matches and you have to pick a starting lineup that you want to go with in the cup final, of the 2 that we saw, maybe you're going to go with that first one. And I was happy to see that. So to see this continuity happen and go forth again between Macario, between Sentnor, I think it's very telling. It's what you want to see, I think, as the coaching staff, because there's very limited opportunities to develop that type of chemistry and to see it continue to bud and build over. And we got to see that in match 1 and in match 3.
Is that the partnership you like, Sandra? Is that what you like?
I do like that dualship for sure. I don't know if there's enough there to, knock off any cornerstone players, because I mean, not only did they go up against this incredible Japan side, but there's no triple espresso, man. Like, there's no Naomi Girma. What does this game even look like if even you just have Girma in the mix of all of this to help organize things, to help supplement Jane Campbell, who's getting starts in net now all of a sudden? Like, significant. It would be so significant, but that's not the case. That's not what was available for this tournament. And for what was given, you have to look in front of you. And yes, 100%. Sentnor, Macario, I enjoyed it very much during SheBelieves.
Sandra, you kind of sound like some of the people with us on YouTube before this even started. They were like, if Triple Espresso was here, they would have done this, they would have done that. Guys, we didn't have them.
Yeah.
We didn't have them to choose from. And that is the whole point Emma Hayes is making. She needs depth. She needs people that she can plug and play when Triple Espresso is not there. Same goes across the back line, across the midfield too. She's looking for depth, and that's what this tournament, that's what this game was specifically determined to do. Find out who can be the best number 2 to sub in for Sophia Wilson when she needs a break, when she's unavailable for camp. The U.S. had good moments, some good transition to end that first 45 minutes. I think it was Kat Macario just before the halftime whistle blew. Her shot was like inches wide, just barely.
Take that herself, though.
I know.
I wanted Yazmeen to be selfish. Just shoot it yourself.
I thought she was going to. Honestly, the way that her body was positioned, I was like, she's going for it, man. It was like 3v1 and Kat just alongside, and girl, rip it.
We got some rips from Yaz Ryan in the second half, guys. Don't worry. They came ultimately. It was tied up after 45, 1-1. Don't go anywhere. We're diving into what happened next, where things continued to fall apart for the U.S. against Japan. The A3 late night party, it continues, y'all. Second half action, the U.S. tied 1-1 with Japan. We got changes from Emma Hayes. Later, she goes on and says that it was because these players looked a little tired, so she took them out. Jenna Nightswanger came in for Crystal Dunn, and Jaden Shaw came in for Ally Sentnor. We did see full subs being used by Emma Hayes, but Christine, at the half after 45, are these the changes you wanted to see from the U.S.?
Honestly, I wish she would have held off a little bit. I do appreciate Jaden Shaw a ton. I felt like she came in a little bit flat today. I don't think that anybody really came in and gave an extra boost of energy anywhere. I think in terms of late subs, I think probably Tierna was the most impactful. I don't think that the US ever really recovered from, I don't know, having to run and chase and defend the entire match. I think that aside from preseason woes and maybe a little bit of tired legs, they weren't able to, get over the hump of having this physicality from this Japan side who just were not letting up.
50th minute, Japan said, yeah, we're here to stay. We're here to win the SheBelieves Cup. Set piece opportunity, and it's Koga off the bench, ultimately scoring this goal for Japan. It was a set piece about 20 yards out. Jane Campbell makes the initial save. She gets her hands to it, parries it wide, but it's the follow-up. It's the rebound. Player was wide open, even on the replay. When the camera angle showed from the goalpost, you could see Koga wide open, and the whole rebound was unmarked, and she just easily taps it in. Is that like defensive fault, D? Is that Jane Campbell should have jumped up for the second rebound? I mean, where did this break down for the U.S.?
The foul shouldn't have happened. This is
bring it all the way back to that.
Bring it back.
Like it.
Bring it back, guys. Forwards are clumsy. We a little tenacious in a way that doesn't make sense when you're running towards your own goal, top of the 18. Mind you, you're also playing freaking Japan. You cannot give up set pieces around the 18. It's going to be dangerous. And Yazmeen Ryan brings a player down, ends up being a foul right outside of the 18. And I was talking to my friend. We were both watching, and I was like, I think this is going to be a goal. I have a feeling. It's just the organization isn't there in the U.S. tonight, the sharpness to maybe not follow the shot. Jane Campbell have made a great save. That was a fantastic save. She did what she could have done. I mean, what can you ask from a keeper throwing their body on the line? Like, I would never be a goalkeeper. They have a certain type of crazy that I love, but I would never want to be, because you're jumping in the air, your body's hitting the ground, and no one is tracking. Not a single U.S. player tracked. That's why I was saying the outside back conversation, sure, we can have it, but I don't even think it mattered this game, because Japan, quite frankly, gave the U.S. a taste of their own medicine. They just were sharp on set pieces, on throw-ins, on corner kicks, on rebounds, on every single thing. They thought optimistically and pounced on the U.S. having kind of a lag of a reaction to everything besides getting the goal back. And, the tenacity that they had, I like that reaction. But in the moments where it really, really counts, where it's dangerous and going to cost you a goal, Japan just had the leg up.
Dude, you're giving so much love there to Japan. If you're Emma Hayes, what's the one thing you're like, okay, this is what my focus is right now for my team to get better at?
The energy that Japan brought, that is something you can control. Sure, Japan's going to be better on the ball. It's funny. I was reminiscing with my friend when I played at UCLA. We went and played in Japan for 2 weeks and played against all of their best pro teams. I've never been more humbled in my life. That the power that they put on passes, how clean everything is, body positioning specific to each foot, the texture. If it's off, you repeat, you do it again. Watching them play today against the US, you saw how different it was, how much cleaner, how much more pride there was in the basics of just playing, just building out of the back even. So if I'm Emma Hayes and I'm the team, I'm glad we had that game. How humbling. Great. Let's take a page out of their book, and that's how we need to play with our own principles. Because I think maybe there was just too many ideas floating around, and I don't think anybody was fully confident in their connections and chemistry, let alone executing the game plan that Hayes wanted them to. But I would take this over winning the tournament right now, because you're going to see so much more growth from this game. Like, I'm honored to lose to a Japan team that came out and played that well.
Yeah, it's hard to feel hard done by losing a game against a team that was that we can sit here and say we're better than the United States on this day. But there's 2 goals in this game that they're going to have as highlight, as part of their video packages to look at. And they're going to see that lapse. They're going to see that ball watching. They're going to see that mental lapse. And in a game where Japan was just bringing it and bringing it and bringing it, you're going to have to, it's like chess sometimes. You're going to have to maneuver some things. If they're beating you, in a speedy type of way, or if they're beating you on the ball tactically, you cannot allow yourself to also concede a bit of the mental game to them as well. And so seeing that in particular on this second goal, just the lapse that occurred here, the lack of coverage, just not being able to recognize that opportunity to try to maybe get the clearance, just it was disappointing. I think they're going to see that obviously on the tape back, but sometimes in certain stretches of the games, maybe it's more mental adjustment that you have to take. Maybe it's more physical or tactical adjustment that you have to make. And in these 2 goals, you see a little bit of that mental lapse. And so I think you applaud your team for having the response. We saw that in the equalizer. They conceded. They said, whoa, we needed to make that mental adjustment. They do it. They get that equalizer. But then to have a goal kind of come this way, the game winner, ultimately, it's disappointing.
It could be technical, tactical, mental. Yeah, there's a lot of factors. You think it's mental, D?
Yeah, that game's exhausting. That game was exhausting to watch. I mean, watching Emily Sonnett look up and trying to direct players of where she wants to play to, but there's no space. You just have a bunch of Japanese shirts literally swarming any pass that you make and plugging pockets. I think to me, that's what wore on the team more than anything. Yes, they have tired legs. Yes, a lot of players are in preseason. Some are coming from middle of the season, huge game champions, like whatever. But if mentally you can't do the simple things and just get into the right pockets and make a simple bounce pass, turn, play out of pressure, that is heavy. That's heavy on your chest. It's heavy on your mind, where you're going to start doubting. You're going to start not feeling confident. And as soon as you let a team see that, which we saw it in the opening minutes, it's tough to overcome. I think you feel like you're at the 60th minute when you're at the 30th in those moments.
Quick in the first half, quick in the second half.
Oh, yeah. I mean, 90 seconds in, Japan was like out to lunch. They were like, let's go. We are going to eat you alive. And your family too. Emily Sonnett is a player
hungry.
Starving. Emily Sonnett is a player that has really worked her way back into this U.S. camp because she's such a versatile player. Even last summer at the Olympics, whether she's playing in the 6, playing as a center back, she is consistent. She's gritty. She's hard-nosed. And there were moments during this match against Japan where Emily Sonnett was making big mistakes. And a lot of players were. There was a lot of chaos happening and unforced errors, but her in particularly looked like her hair was on fire, trying to control, trying to manage a player getting just their 3rd cap and Tara McKeown next to them, trying to manage the constant numbers of Japanese players around her and trying to find outlets when there are none, when trying to be an outlet for Jane Campbell and behind her. Emily Sonnett, to me, is going to have a tough night. She's going to be exhausted when she gets her head on a pillow, but it was chaos. She's one of the players that Emma Hayes did not take out. We did see more subs throughout the second 45. Lynn Bandolo came in, Alyssa Thompson, and Corbin Albert, as well as Tierna Davidson, taking out Katerina Macario, Yazmeen Ryan, Lily Yohannes, and Tara McKeown. Now, Lily Yohannes is a player that first game in particular, we were all talking about how well she did. She was finding the ball, switching the play. Christine, we didn't see her that much in this game. She played about 57 minutes and she was quiet.
Yeah, I think that was a symptom of what this game was like. I think that getting hit that early on in this match with the Japan that was going to be unrelenting. We talked about this last match that like they weren't going to sit back on the US. They're not afraid anymore. Was a little bit more of a challenge for her. I think this was a good challenge though. I think there was like maybe 1 or 2 balls that you saw her just kind of get closed in on, like 3 Japan players circling her where she got dispossessed. And that's, I think, a reasonable expectation when you really just can't come up for air. But I think that that was a symptom of a lot of the players. They just couldn't get over that hump and they just kept getting buried. So they're trying to gasp for air and the waves keep crashing. Japan had a hell of a strategy. I think that for a kid, like, she hung in pretty tightly, but did she have a relatively quiet match? Absolutely.
She still looks
I
calm though.
She
Mhm.
is she
like
is so suave. She
Yeah,
is
I thought she had a
so
good
suave.
moment.
Like, she
Good
looks
word for it, Dee.
unfazed. Yeah, she looks unfazed with everything. What I was bummed about, I have in my notes at halftime, I was like, "Please bring in Alyssa Thompson and Lynn Biondolo. This game is calling for Lily Yohannes to put balls on a dime over the top to Yazmeen Ryan, Lynn Biondolo, and Alyssa Thompson. Make Japan have to respect the pace that you have to turn them around. Then it's going to drop everybody. Then it's going to give players like Sam Coffey, like Lily Yohannes, Tara McKeown, who needed some space from pressure and being able to just make some simple passes, and actually let the U.S. build out. I was dying to see that, and I was really, really bummed that Lily Yohannes kind of went out at the same time when all of those players came in. But
Yeah.
it was
But
just
we
not.
didn't even see that when Biondolo and Alyssa Thompson came in, the US wasn't sending them.
No, they weren't. It was weird. That's why I think everything was caught between two minds, but that's what I was really hoping to see in the second half because I think the game was screaming for that against
Yeah.
Japan, who was suffocating any pass that went into the middle of the pitch.
I would
It
have
took
loved to have
until
seen the opportunity for Johannes to get a mix in with some of the subs, honestly, because part of that response in the first half to try to make that adjustment actually came from Johannes. We saw her trying to make forward passes. She was kind of popping those dingers over. It was actually quite American of her to just try to serve that over the top. And it's funny because she's getting developed in Europe and I really appreciated the fact that she took a moment to recognize, well, what if we just played a bit of soccer tennis here and tried to aerial duel our way into the final third. I respected it. I loved to see it. I loved to see that adjustment from such a young player. But there was just, again, this is giving credit to Japan where they also made the adjustment, where we saw them swarming. There were 2 or 3 players around any one of the United States midfielders at one point. And I don't know what the answer was supposed to be in that throughout stretches of the game to that from a Hayes. Maybe it was making a number of substitutions that ultimately didn't pan out. It certainly wasn't Corbin Albert. I think we got to see all of these midfielders at one point. And I still think even now in this final game, we're exiting this tournament where we're going to talk about very specific midfielders, and they're going to be Johannes and Hutton coming out of this camp. So I think I'm with Darian. I think it's a mixed bag of all those things.
when Davidson did come in the 68th minute, she is the center back that was like, hello, ladies, corner flag, let's go. Send it in behind. It took forever to get there, though.
I mean, she almost scored. She almost scored a goal. It's like, put her up top. What are we doing? She was the most effective sub. She brought so much calmness to the back line. She was able to play those penetrating passes. I wish we saw her sooner, or maybe her paired with McKeown, because I think the level that she brought didn't add chaos. It actually brought a lot of comfort to everybody. I feel like everyone took a deep breath, even watching it when she came on. It felt like something wasn't going to go wrong because she was there. And then, she almost scored. She was up in the attack. So she was the most effective sub for me.
Davidson, when she came on and almost scored that goal, I think it was like 88th minute. Somewhere in my notes, I have it. I love that, right? Center back scoring goals all day. I'm here for it. But it was a combination play that led to this buildup. And Lynn Biondolo had a chance to score, and she had a couple other chances 5 minutes before. And I love a layoff to a center back to strike it. But I want a U.S. forward, when you are down 2 goals in order to win the tournament, to be ruthless in the box in those moments, to get the ball, to spin the defender, and to shoot. I wanted Lynn to take this game and be control and be an impact in that moment. So I like that Davidson had a chance, but I would have rather Lynn be, this is my game, this is my goal, this is my ball inside the box to score this, not lay it off to be
It's
another
pretty
10
bleak
games.
at that. It's pretty bleak at that moment if your highest hope is your center back to score 2 goals. That's a tough night. That's a tough way to end your night.
It is
It's
tough. It's tough.
Lynn also had one that was served from RIP 2023 Gotham connection, but Jenna Neiswanger served one in deep on the left side over to Lynn Biondolo in the center of the park. And do you guys remember 2016 NWSL final against Washington Spirit when Lynn played for the New York Flash and Sam Mewis served a ball like that and Lynn ended up scoring it? I think put the game into double overtime. New York Flash ended up winning it. Anyways, I was really hoping that Lynn was gonna score that, because she is so clutch in those moments. And Lisa, I understand what you're saying. I think, as a forward and how effective she is in front of goal to just go do it and rip it.
Just go yourself. Wow, you are really keeping on to old school NWSL facts in your brain there.
Guys, that is rare that
Imagine what
happens.
you could make room for.
1:30 a.m.
It took me back. I saw into
Love
the
it.
future or saw into the past. It was crazy, but
Nice. All right, guys. US, they lose. They fall 2-1 to Japan. We're wrapping this up and breaking down everything that we learned from She Believes Cup. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back to A3 D correction. Are you going to give your correction on air?
Oh shit! You're actually calling me out on air.
Oh.
Jess McDonald, I'm so sorry. It was not Sam Mewis. It was Jess McDonald who served the ball in to Lynn Williams at the time, and she put it away. And Newsflash ended up winning it. That's the team I ended up getting drafted to. So I'm so sorry, Jess. I love you. That was a great ball deep on the left side. I don't know.
It's late in the club. It's last call. We're good.
It's late. So
and Jess holds her assist record very, very close to her heart.
It's very personal.
As she should. So the fact that you got that wrong is a little concerning. Okay, we're back. We're talking not Jess McDonald U.S. team, but this Lynn Biandolo U.S. women's national team. They close out SheBelieves Cup on a 2-1 loss to Japan. They do not lift the SheBelieves Cup trophy for the first time since 2019 when England did the thing. Now, this whole camp, this whole tournament was where Emma Hayes was going to see who could be the best number twos, whether it was in the front line, in the back line, in the midfield, who could be depth to this squad, bringing in a lot of young players. So I want to know from my experts on attacking third tonight, who proved themselves that they belong on this U.S. women's national team. Sandra?
I want to see more Lily Yohannes. I don't care. That's the coach's job to temper the expectations and to preach the patience and to go ahead and say, we're going to develop them with a long road ahead of them. That's great. Our job is to use our eyeballs and see what we're watching out on the pitch and say, hey, that looks good. Let me see more of that. And that's what we got, I think, out of this tournament with Lily Yohannes. I think we even saw glimpses of that ahead of the Olympics last year. I felt now with time to reflect on it, I'm so honored to be in Minnesota for her first cap, where she had a first goal, and you could just see even then how special this player was. So to get to see her in this kind of setting where there's some high stakes involved against good opposition, where there was a trophy to play for, I'm very happy to see Lily Yohannes and her progression, not only for her own personal development, but with the U.S. women's national team. And I think she needs to get more call-ups and get more minutes in that midfield.
I like that. Lisa, I'm going to jump in. That okay, girl?
Yeah, you're allowed. You just can't go first anymore.
All right. That's okay. I'm going to say Ally Sentnor. I think if there was any question marks about her, those are completely alleviated. She has proven that she can be a game changer. When there's not much going on, she's somebody that you can rely on to be effective. If it's for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, she's going to score goals. She's going to create opportunities. And like I was saying before, we don't know what her ceiling is. She is so young and there's still so much to learn and see from her game. I think she is still going to be developing in ways that maybe she doesn't even know under Emma Hayes, that she's going to be unstoppable. And to me, the biggest thing that you can't teach is how you react when things go wrong. And to me, she had one of the strongest reactions. When the U.S. went down or they needed a goal, they needed to come up big, they needed to be gritty in the defensive third, she was back there putting in a shift and getting forward and being effective in front of goal. So to me, Ally Sentnor is the standard of what a player coming in and wanting to be part of this attacking crew that the U.S. has, you have to be up to there.
Ooh. Christine.
You know what? I had both Lily and Ally Sentnor as my now players, as Emma Hayes likes to categorize them, now players and future players. For that very reason, Lily Yohannes has been this calm, very introspective and like just impactful player for a teenager in this midfield. So for me, she definitely needs to get more minutes. And in terms of Ally Sentnor, she's been questioned now twice and has come up with definitive answers. I feel like that is undeniable. She has shown up and will likely continue to show up the more that she gets minutes and gets cultivated. The chemistry with the squad, I just foresee these players fitting in with the more senior players extremely well, and also being to adapt and being highly coachable.
Ally Sentnor to me is already on this team. She's on the U.S. women's national team with or without triple espresso. Yazmeen Ryan is a player that needs to be called into every single camp. She has developed every single time she sees the pitch under Emma Hayes, proving herself that she can get involved in the play even when it's not coming to her, creating things out of nothing, combining well with the people around her, having a lot of versatility. She's got great vision, crosses into the box, plus she can rip a shot from 25 yards out, put it on a rope. I loved Yazmeen Ryan and seeing her, especially in this challenging game against Japan, where there weren't always chances and opportunities for her to shine. She was gritty and wanted to get involved. There's also a shout for Michelle Cooper. I think that can be said. We didn't get to see her in this match, but you like that one, Sandra? I mean, to me, Michelle Cooper is one that proved that she's gritty and she wants to work to get onto this roster. But there's also the other side of it, who maybe needs a little bit more time to develop, who maybe didn't, stand up to the standard of what the U.S. women's national team needs to be, because it's a tight roster at the top, who isn't quite there yet to make their way onto it. Christine, you got
unprepared.
I'm like, me first. Go ahead, Sandra.
I'm
Darian?
like, I'm unprepared. I'm still thinking.
Oh, okay. I think that I think based on the performance we saw, and I don't want this to be taken as a negative, I think that Hutton will be very good. I don't think that she's ready yet, or she hasn't been plugged in the best possible ways for her to be used. And so I think she needs a little bit more time in the cooker, or figure out a better application. I feel a little bit similarly about McKeown in the back line. Again, like, great raw skill set, but not necessarily a plug and play, ready to go now player.
I like that. I was thinking, I'm told I can't go first. I did have somebody.
But about always going first.
My
mouth you can always go ahead of me.
Show. Mine was Terry McKeown. I think, especially when you're putting a right-footed player at left center back with players she hasn't had a lot of playing time with, especially on her left with Crystal Dunn or whoever you're switching into that position, that's a really tough adjustment with your body positioning, how you're opening up, how far your touch is going to go. If you're driving and dribbling forward, you don't really want to do that on your left. I'm sure she's more comfortable doing that on her right, which we've seen her do with the Spirit. But I think if you are wanting to make her that left center back, pair her with Tierna Davidson, or have her shadow Tierna Davidson, because I think she does it so elegantly because she is left-footed. Mm-hmm. So I think she just needed a little bit more time. I think there was chemistry issues across the back line, and mainly there, and you could see that just this Japan squad going at Tara McKeown.
Yeah, well, McKeown's never going to play the same as Davidson because she's naturally right-footed, and Davidson's
that's the thing. You shadow her, like,
right.
When you're in passing patterns, that's all you freaking do at pro is you do 1,000 passing patterns. Sit behind her and just mimic her body movement. Sit and alternate, because that's how you're going to figure out when you step back, when you open up, how far. Those are the qualities Emma Hayes wants in that position. That's what she needs to do, because it wasn't there this game.
Interesting. I think McKeown's maybe an obvious answer in this one, and it's one I don't disagree with. I think it was pretty evident in a couple of games there where she needed to have that reaction moment. I think these were games where we got to see the promise of her reaction, and I think that was the silver lining in a lot of her things. I mean, this is a player that used to be a forward, so she's still, like, I think, kind of developing her game and establishing her game as a defender. So I get where you're coming from, Darian, in terms of, like, having that kind of leadership to go off of. And I think maybe that could be said for a lot of defenders. I mean, we didn't see Alyssa Mallinson in this camp. I mean, she's someone who I spoke to during media day saying that she wants to work on things defensively. So I wonder if there's a little bit of that conversation already happening with the coaching staff to specific defensive players to kind of work on those things. It's like, if you are one of these players that they're looking at to develop at the fullback position, got to work on those things defensively. But I would maybe carry that argument over to McKeown as well. I'm a little bit surprised that maybe the goalkeeper position wasn't brought up in this one. Maybe that's an area that's a very obvious area I think that we are going to continue to see get worked on for a while here. I don't think this is something that was determined, that this role was solidified by any means on this tournament. Emma Hayes has said herself that she's going to need some time to evaluate in this role. I believe June was like the messaging that hopefully after the June window that they'll have a little bit of an answer there. Casey Murphy was not in this camp. Valentine Joyce was in as a training player, so did not get to see an opportunity for her against these three quality opponents. And we got to see Jane Campbell twice and McGlynn once. So I would argue that McGlynn maybe is one of these players as well that needs to continue what she's doing for club and hopefully stay on the radar of this U.S. women's national team coaching staff.
The goalkeeper spot is absolutely the biggest hole because everywhere else there's someone else that just wasn't in this camp. There's no other goalkeepers, right? I mean, Jane Campbell, this was the biggest game of her career that she has ever played. In her 10th cap with the senior women's national team, her first time playing with the trophy on the line, her first time facing an opponent that was ranked in FIFA's top 10, plus there's a starting goalkeeper spot on the line. I mean, this was everything that Jane Campbell had worked for in her entire career. And of course, we don't have time to dive into it now, but we will talk U.S. women's national team goalkeeper position because A3 never sleeps. We're going to get a quick little cat nap in, and we'll be back at 11 a.m. Thursday morning live on YouTube. You can listen anywhere as a podcast if you're going to catch some Z's, but not us. We're up. We're clubbing. A3 late night, A3 early in the morning. It never stops for us. The U.S. women's national team, they fall 2-1, losing to Japan in their final match of the SheBelieves Cup. They do not lift the SheBelieves Cup trophy for the first time since 2019. Thanks for hanging with us, y'all. It's been a blast. It's been fun. We got games finally, and we talked about them, and we'll be back tomorrow, 11 a.m. Eastern, to talk more. For Mark, Darian, Sandra, and Christine, I'm Lisa. This was Attacking Third.